Oh man, shock GDP figure flips the script here for Bitcoin and interest rates. What just happened? We just got a new GDP figure reading for Q4, which came in at 3.3% versus the 2% that markets were expecting. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What does it mean for crypto and altcoins? I'm going to break that down and a lot more. Smash up the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, check out the links in our description to our Telegram community where I share updates, I share which altcoins I'm looking to DCA, and also which trades I'm taking as well. So this GDP figure just came in right now, half the press. You can see it's coming hot, right? Shows that the economy is really resilient, if anything, very strong, despite us sitting here at 5.25 to 5.5% on our interest rates. Now remember, markets were expecting, myself including, that this would be the year we start to see rate cuts. This will be the year we'll see Jerome Powell start to taper off these rate cuts. And you can see here for January, which is in 6 days' time, the next FOMC meeting, next Wednesday, we will be covering it here on this channel as well, so make sure you're subscribed. The market doesn't expect a rate cut. Now, where you can see they started to expect a rate cut is in March, right? If you click onto March now, this used to be, if you checked this a couple of weeks ago, that 60% of the market were expecting we'll get a rate cut in March. Now that's just 46%, and you're seeing it changing here in real time. So 46% of the market is now expecting a rate cut, whilst 52% think we'll still stay paused by March. Because if the economy is doing well, even with these high rates, what is the reason for Jerome Powell to cut rates? So this is a situation we're in right now. So we're in a bit of a risky situation where Jerome Powell has to try and navigate this soft landing. But now that the GDP data is showing strong, the CPI data was quite high as well, maybe that's going to give him reason to keep these rates higher for longer, which could in fact be quite bearish. Now you can see here Bitcoin trying to kind of just steer itself here, running into resistance here on the EMA ribbon, and you can see it's struggling. This is a bearish trend. Fell to the downside, consolidated, fell to the downside, consolidated into the EMA ribbon, fell to the downside, now consolidate again. So the natural worry here is, are we just going to get rejected from this 40k level, pushed down by the bears down towards 38.5 and 38k? Remember, 38k was the level I shared with you guys over 10 days ago, even when Bitcoin was doing really, really well, to say, guys, that 38k level seems like a natural area for Bitcoin to fall to. And that was based off of this support here. Remember this triangle we broke from? We broke to the upside. That's the natural level of support at 38k. So I was calling that for quite a bit of time. Now, the question is going to be, will this GDP figure really start to throw the spanner in the works? So if we take on over a look at the dollar index here, you can see over the last hour when this data came out, you got mixed reaction. Look at this doji candle. Initially ran to the upside, then fell, then moved back to the upside, and now the next hourly candle is really starting to shoot up. What does it mean if the dollar index shoots up? If the dollar index shoots up, more people are rotating into the dollar. They're rotating away from risk. So inherently, this isn't going to be great for traditional markets nor the stock market. So let's go check over how is the pre-market doing here for the US. Let's click on US here. Dow Jones here falling to the downside, S&P fairly flat for now, and NASDAQ kind of flat as well. So no indication just yet. We'll have to wait for the market open. But overall, this is a little bit of a worry now, right? Because it throws a spanner in the works of whether we're going to get these rate hikes consistently throughout this year. We want rates to come down. That's going to be good for Bitcoin. That's going to be good for altcoins. Now that the economy is showing that it's super resilient, super strong, inflation is still strong, job figures are still strong, what argument does Jerome Powell have to cut rates? He can say, I'm going to leave it here now, because there's nothing telling him that he's damaging the economy, right? If you saw GDP coming in weak, treading along the lines of a recession, which we're nowhere near in terms of a US recession yet, and you had unemployment really in a bit of a pickle, you had, then you have an argument to say, okay, maybe he needs to cut. But right now, this doesn't back up his narrative. So it's going to be very, very interesting how this plays out over the next few hours and days. In terms of Bitcoin here, you guys know on the daily chart, we've lost our daily EMA ribbon, right? So you can see we've lost our trend here. And really, this starts the major pullback, right? It starts the major pullback. We've lost our daily EMA ribbon. You can see it starting to flip in here to the downside. Weekly chart is what I use to kind of gauge some support. So straight away here, you can see the top of the weekly EMA ribbon starts to come in at 37.2. For me, that's the next major support that's going to come in for us. Now, if you want to bring in some horizontal lines as well, you can see 36.1, that green line there acts as nice support as well. So if we were to lose 40, If we were to lose 38, then I'm looking at the top of the EMA ribbon, 37.2, along with 36.1 as potential areas we can pull back to. Now, of course, when markets are fearful, everybody and their grandma wants to start shouting out, oh, Bitcoin's going to go to 20, it's going to go to 15, I've got a limit order set at 10. That's all like just designed to scare you, right? I follow the data, I follow what the charts are showing me, and right now, support at 40, which is what we're trying to hold. Looks like we're losing that now post this GDP figure. But then after that, 38, which I've been calling for 10 days. And then if we lose 38, then I start looking at the EMA ribbon around this 37.2 as some sort of level of support. Now, longer term, if you look at the structure of this chart, and I don't mean to say this to kind of scaremonger. Again, I'm just showing you the data I'm seeing. What is the natural, obvious place to build support? It's here. If you remember when we were working our way up, we got rejected here, sent back down, went back up again, sent back down. So between the 31 to 32k level, right up here, around this area here, is a very natural level of support for Bitcoin to want to go and create a price floor. So even if things went really bad, right, over the next kind of couple of weeks, Bitcoin continued to fall, couldn't find any support all the way into its EMA ribbon, down to this 32k level, I will be buying heavily at that point, because that shows me the major structure here on the chart, which would get me quite excited in that we could be holding this level of support, so kind of coming down all the way into here and then want to rotate. And isn't it a coincidence that at that point, which by the way, let me just draw the horizontal line so you can see it. I'm drawing the horizontal line across here, right, very roughly, because that's the 32 level support. And that ties in right with the bottom of the EMA ribbon and right with the bottom of this ascending channel which we're in. So you've got a lot of confluence. Now remember, confluence is when a lot of indicators and a lot of chart patterns are telling you the same thing. There's a lot of support around us kind of pulling back here into that EMA ribbon I was just showing you, but also going and retesting 32. And whilst in the short term, over the next kind of couple of weeks, people will panic, be really worried, this would actually be perfectly fine. It would show a nice uptrend here in this channel, and in the long great scheme of things, it's not a bad thing. So that's what I'm watching for here on Bitcoin. Now, of course, it doesn't mean Bitcoin has to go there, right? It doesn't mean it has to go there to the bottom of the channel. You can pick up support here from halfway. It's just whether we're going to have enough bullish momentum for us to keep this trend, break this trend, and start going parabolic, right? Bitcoin would have to decide that it wants to go parabolic if it wants to change this trend, create a higher low, and start doing this to go steeper. If it just wants to keep the ordinary trend, it needs to come to the bottom and start working out in this direction. Either way, guys, you guys know I'm not concerned about this market right now. I'm concerned around the interest rates and them being delayed longer now that Jerome Powell has an excuse that the economy is resilient, the figures are looking good, I have no reason to cut rates. Maybe now it's pretty much certain that in 6 days' time, we're not going to get a rate cut, right? I think the majority of the market never expected one anyway, but I think we can firmly say next week, not much chance of us getting a surprise rate cut, but the question's still on the table, will we get one in March? That's the key one. If we don't get one in March, I think the markets are going to get upset and we'll start to see some redness in the market if we do not finally at least get one rate cut by March. We can't wait until the next one in May in order to get a rate cut. That's going to really put us on the back foot and the markets will start to rotate risk off again. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. If you appreciate this type of breaking news updates, smash all the likes. Do not forget to subscribe. Make sure you're in our Telegram community. That's where I share which projects I'm DCAing into, which projects I'm trading. All of that is in there. Once we get to 3,000 members in our Telegram group, I will be shutting that off to any new members. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.